record. There we go. Now we're recording. Now it's an interview. Now it's Lupus Lindemann of Kadavar, thank you for taking the time to chat on a, I don't know, what day is it? Whatever day it is.
Tuesday.
That works. That works.
That worked.
It's as good as anything as I've got. So I want to talk to you about a few things. I mentioned this is the first time you and I are speaking, so thank you for that. Thank you for taking the time.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
To chat. And one thing that kind of struck me, you guys kind of are, of course, super early adopters of the live stream thing. It seemed like it seemed like there was what the studio session 1, live session 1, and then everyone else did streams.
Yeah.
Do you feel like being 3 weeks ahead of the game helped you, or kind of hurt you in that one?
Well, we were always joking around that one day we don't have to tour anymore. We're just gonna do one stream and we're done and go home. And so
careful what you wish for. Yes,
that's what we got now. But we were on tour in France, so not too far away from Germany. And when all our concerts got canceled, and then on the way back to Berlin, I have seen another band doing a live stream like 1 or 2 weeks earlier, and I was like, on the way back, it's like, guys, we are still warm, we still know the songs, we still know how to do it. We have a studio, all we need is a camera, and we can create some good sound, which is the most important stuff. And then we have one guy with a camera, that should be enough of footage for the people to give them some kind of feeling. So we had like 4 or 5 days to figure out how all that works, and then have like an interface and stuff like that, and see how it works. And then we just did it. But at that time, I thought that bands would do that right away as well. But when I saw later that like a couple thousand people watched it live, and we really seemed to be the first band doing it, that was something I realized later. And then after a longer like period, I realized, man, we might have started the whole thing, even though other bands wanted to do that anyways. But I think we were just quick, and I think I just wanted to do it and then be done with it.
Well, you weren't though, because you did the second one too. So 9 months later.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in France, you're fresh off tour, you go back and you do that first one. What was it then like to do the second one in December after 9 months of not touring?
I have to say that was the harder one, because really to get back in that mood and into this, I don't know, it's a certain state of mind you need to have to play a live show. And as you said, there was 9 months in between where we done music, where we recorded the album, but not really playing as a band. And that was the harder one. But and I think you can also hear that we were not that tight as we were in March. But also that's why we invited a friend to play with us, just to have some more excitement and do something else, and try to have something special for Christmas.
Well, I mean, okay. I watched the second one. I missed the first one because you were just so damn early in doing it. And I still thought there were going to be shows in April, but whoops. But saw the second one. I mean, you guys sounded pretty good. Having watched it, it was pretty good. Did you? And it's been a while since I've seen you guys live, but still. Did you feel like, I don't know, was there a sense of release? Was there just like, were you nervous at all about doing it, having not played? I mean, when was the last time that you went that long between shows?
I think that never happened.
Exactly.
I think when we really formed the band back in 2010, that was the only time we did not play that long. We're usually a band which is on tour for most of the time.
Forever.
We play at least 100 shows a year. This year we played, last year, sorry, we played about 10 shows. That was a weird feeling. I'm always nervous when I have to play. I always hate the first show. I always hate the second show. And from the third show, I get a little better. So for the second stream, I had only one show, and I really hated it. I was already telling them, okay, if I'm gonna fuck it up, like, we're just gonna do another one tomorrow, you know, until it works for me. So, and the other guys were like, no, man, we're not coming back again to the studio, and you know, we want to see the family and stuff. So I was very, very nervous. But also it felt really good to make music with the boys again and have some kind of feeling of a live show, even though there's no people around. But just the chemistry between us is very important, and that's why we usually also, when we record an album, we record everything live. We need to see each other. We have to react to each other, and we play for so many years together that it's very important to see each other and see what Tiger is doing. He's usually directing the whole, like the orchestra, and so I really need him, and that's how I like to play as well. So that's why this time we did not kind of set up like on stage like we did in the first streams. This time we would stand in a circle and look at each other, just to make it a little bit easier after 9 months to really see when somebody's counting in or somebody does a break or something like that, so you can react a little faster than you would usually do. Yeah.
I think that's interesting too, though. I mean, a lot of the streams have kind of, you know, not that they're taking the place of live music, but a lot of the streams that I've seen have been bands trying to sort of emulate that being on a stage. Whereas, I mean, when you're facing each other and playing like that, that strikes me as being a little bit more like a rehearsal.
Yeah.
Right? So it's kind of a different atmosphere when you're doing it that way.
Yeah, I think when the whole lockdown started and the whole cancellation started and people did the first streams, I think they were still they still had the image of a live stream should look like a show, but after 9 months you realize, well, it's never going to be a show anyways, so it's not the same. So I think for us now it was important to play a good show, to have like good sound and play tight, and rather than giving the people at home on their couch the feeling they're in a venue, because they know they're not anyways.
Right.
So this was the difference, what we have learned or what we have decided after 9 months, that it's never going to be a live show anyway.
Right. And yet you still kind of want to do the tour, right? And come back and do the next one the next day and the next day and the next day until...
I would prefer that, yes.
Let's talk about the isolation tapes while we're speaking of things that are far different from normal.
Yeah.
Tell me, what song did you write first? What song came first in the isolation tapes?
I think we really started with the first song, because the first song is part of the first stream. Okay. It is the intro of the Children of the Night. We just called it A Lonely Child because now we were isolated. There was no more child around us. And this is the part of, we wrote that part for our tour, to have like to give the feeling, the people a little bit more synthesizers and get them a little bit more confused, and also have a reason to take all those synthesizers on tour with, instead of having just like be there with the synthesizers for 5 minutes and then, you know, right. That's setting it up and sound check and everything takes like half an hour, and then you play for 5 minutes. So we wrote like an intro which would last at least another 10 minutes. So we had a reason to take all that stuff. So but we liked that intro so much that we thought it would be a waste just like leaving it there. And we thought this is a good entrance to the state where we are right now, because this is like the transformation from the live touring business to the isolation status we were in, that we only met the three of us in the studio. There was a complete lockdown, everything was closed, no people on the streets, nothing was going on. So that was like the last piece of our old life. And then we slowly transformed the record into where it actually ended, into like more quiet, less guitars, more synthesizers, more sound, more emotion than we might have recorded earlier, previous albums.
How did the process of those songs coming together compare to how you usually do it? All three of you are still in the studio.
Yeah.
You're not completely isolated.
That's true, but
together.
You know, yeah, yeah, sure, but at the same time, it's like our studio is in a backyard of like a lot of car garages, a lot of rehearsal spaces. Usually it's very noisy. There's a lot of people on the streets, and it was completely dead quiet, and we were all alone there. So, and when we would walk home, then nobody was on the street, and we would just. The only way we did every day was between our home and the studio, which is for me like a 10 minutes walk. In a big city, that's not much. And so the process, I think we just decided after we had everything set up for the live stream, after that we said like, hey man, there's nothing else to do. Let's just go to the studio and let's just play music. Whatever comes up to our mind, it doesn't matter, because we don't need to do a record. We don't need to do anything at the moment, and we just play music and do it like when we first met back 10 years ago, and when we try to find our sound. Let's just jam and see what happens. And I think the first 2 weeks nothing really happens. We had a lot of fun, we laughed a lot, we had a couple beers, and we relaxed, but there was nothing really coming out. And then slowly it turned into something where we would start like leaving the guitar in the corner and start with the synthesizers and come with melodies and ideas that the drums should sound like Beatles drums, more direct and stuff like that. So building up ideas. Mm-hmm. And then slowly we created this idea of something completely new. And it was very interesting. And I think it was the most creative process we had in a long time, because we did not have to please anyone, or we did not have any deadlines, or there was no label waiting for something or anything. It was just us doing music in this very special times. So this is the result.
So kind of refreshing in terrible circumstances. Then I mean, that's, yeah, you sound like what you're describing is you know, going back to the roots and just kind of seeing what happens now, right?
Yeah.
Now that you've played together for 10 years, I guess Dragon hasn't been in the band the whole time, but now that you and Tiger have played together for those 10 years, kind of going back to that start and seeing where it takes you. Or a reinvention, but like I don't know.
Yeah, it's you know, I think we've been in this business and we've been in this wheel of business for the last years, that
the cycle.
There was no time to really sit down and think what we are doing and take a break and see if we're really going in the right direction, or is this really what we want. And I think all we've done, I'm proud of, and I think there was not really a wrong decision. But for our creativity, that I think the last couple of years, we did not really have the time to go all the way. It was always like, we would write songs, we would like them, and I think, but we were always thinking like, should that be on the record? Shouldn't that be? That's not hard enough, or this is not good enough, and stuff like that. And this time we did not have, there was no plan and there was no label and there was no deadline. So we would just let it happen. And that freedom we got, I think, brought us way further than with the last 3 albums, I would say.
I mean,
which was nice. And I think we always tried not to copy ourselves. And we always, every time we would start writing an album, we would always try to clear everything and start from scratch and really like, don't think about what we've done the 2 years before, and give every album a chance, you know, and not to be just another album of that direction. And we never wanted to end up in one corner where we would like we would not be able to just be creative and do what we want, because we have to do a certain sound and a certain kind of music to do what we want to do, you know. So I think this album really got us out of the corner again. And I think now we have like an open field in front of us and we can do whatever we want. And this is, I think, the best possible situation we could be in as a band.
So, I mean, how do you see then, how do you see the process changing going forward? I'm assuming there isn't a ton of writing going on right now, but maybe there is. Go ahead. I'm sorry. How do you see moving forward from here?
I think I would like to do, I mean, for me, we're already recording stuff, but right now we did sounds for audiobook, which was completely different again. Just really like background music, more droney and ambient stuff. But I think my answer to the Isolation tapes would be the most dirty rock and roll record we ever did. So this is the first thing comes up into my mind. If
of course,
just to give the people the opposite of what they expect after that album.
Right. I
like to see their faces when they play the first song and they're like, what the fuck is that? And then, you know, I like to hear bad critics of people who did not sit down and take their time to really get into it. And because I think it's very important to listen to music and not just like skip through. And we have long songs, especially on the for the Dead Travel Fast. We have like 7 or 8 minute songs again, and some of the songs, they need some time, and I think you have to play them again and again to really get into the mood. And I can read in the reviews who played the record only once, and other people maybe played it 2 or 3 times, and I like that. I like to see that, because I want to challenge people with my music as well. I don't want to just be another stoner band playing the same riff like Black Sabbath every year. I'm not sure if I can say that, but
I'll let that part out. Don't worry. Yeah, we won't let that go public.
The thing by now everyone stopped watching by now.
That's it. Forget it. It's done. Well, then tell me what you. Okay, Mr. likes to catch people off guard. Tell me what you thought about the response to the Isolation tapes. Because I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot of both. I've seen a lot of like, wow, this is mind blowing. They've never done anything like this. This is incredible. And I have seen people who are not on board.
Yeah, I was very surprised by the reaction. Most of them were very positive, and people really understood the situation and the time and the idea behind that album. And I remember like 1 or 2 weeks before it got released, I told Tiger, as I told him, like, every time we have a new album, I told him like, dude, we shouldn't do it. We just should not release it. I don't think it's the right thing to do. I don't think people will get it. I think we will lose all our fans with that thing. It's like, it's too much synthesizers. Maybe we should do some overdubs, just like have a couple more guitar solos just to please like at least a couple of them. And he was like, no, man, it's good stuff. I think we did a good record, and you shouldn't. He usually doesn't answer anymore. After 10 years, when I write him, he doesn't answer for that shit. He knows me too well. I always complain about sound and songwriting 1 week before the record comes out. I'm too nervous. But then, yeah, I saw the reactions, and we started with the Everything is Changing, like probably the craziest pop song we've ever done. Almost no guitar in there, just the organ or piano part. And I was like, man, they're gonna hate us. and but they didn't. I mean, there's always a few people who don't, but there's also the same amount of people didn't like our last album. So the previous. So I was very surprised that our fans, they already know that there's always another record coming and always another sound, and that they were just jumping on that idea and following it. And a lot of people are listening to it still, even it's released a couple of months already, and we still get emails of people who really like it, and the record is sold out. So I think it's
always a good sign. Yeah.
I mean, there were so many new things also with that we released it ourselves, and we never done anything like this before. It's like when you're on a label like Nuclear Blast, you leave that label, then you're like, okay, how much of our success was the label, and how much is the band or the music, the art? So when we decided to release it ourselves, we were like, man, we don't have this big machine like Nuclear Blast has. We're not them. And I mean, in the States, they're not as big as they're here in Europe, but
still,
they're huge.
Heavier label, still huge. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we were really a little bit afraid about that. So we said like, okay, let's just do a couple hundred and see how it goes. And in the end, we got so much feedback that I was very surprised. So it showed me that maybe the music isn't that wrong. It wasn't always the label which did the good work. It was also our music who brought the fans together and sold the records, which is nice to see.
Yeah, good to know, for sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, let's talk about Nuclear Blast. Actually, I saw on Twitter not too long ago, you guys got your Twitter handle back, so congratulations.
Yeah, I wrote that.
That's a pretty big deal these days, so good for you. Tell me, was that contract just up? Was there a conscious move on your part, like we want to do our own thing now? How do you end up on your own record label?
Yeah, that was not the plan. I mean, we always we were playing around with ideas, and it always came up that we should release some, I don't know, special editions or singles or something ourselves. But we never thought that we would leave Nuclear Blast that fast, and we had to release something without a label at all. I think we did 4 albums with them, and it was a very good relationship. They helped us a lot. They've done a really good job, and they've always been like a family. But we also realized after the last record, maybe it's time for us to try something else after 8 years. And they got sold to a bigger company, and they had some changes within the company, and everything was still all right, but we just felt like maybe that's the sign for us to do something else and try something else. So we sat down on the last tour with them in last October, November, and we talked to them, and they understood that, and they said like, okay, then if you want to try something else, we don't want to be in your way. And we had a couple shots and beers that night, and we hugged each other, and that was it. But I mean, really nice. I mean, always nice people. They always supported us. They always came to see our shows. They always did everything they could to promote the records and everything. It was really nice working with them. But yeah, as I said, maybe after 8 years, it's nice to have a change as well.
I mean, you guys were kind of, I mean, it seemed like when you signed a Nuclear Blast, it was kind of an oh shit moment, as it was you were operating at a different scale. You know what I mean? And especially, you know, I think it was you guys in Graveyard
Mm.
were on Nuclear Blast at the time, and then they picked up other bands along the way. But
Blues Pills as well.
what's that?
Blues Pills as well.
Yeah, some Blues Pills, but yeah, Blues
Yeah.
Pills. But I mean,
Yeah.
it was a different level. Having
Yeah.
having now put out a record on your own, and I want to talk to you about the festival too in a little bit. Not that it happened, but but you know, sort of moving into doing that yourself, I can kind of understand why you'd be nervous about not having that machine behind you. Do you now feel like you need to kind of build your own machine?
Yeah, I mean it's necessary if you wanna release your record worldwide and give the possibility to people in Brazil and the States and Australia and everywhere to buy the record for a decent price. Then you need to build some kind of machine to make that happen. Yeah, I mean when it started in 2012, I think Nuclear Blast they called us or sent us a mail, I think a couple of weeks after we released our first album, and we thought it was a joke. We're like, okay, like we just released an album. We have until then, I think we did play like around 10 shows or something, and then they invited us into a hotel in Berlin at the airport, and we were like, what? It's like usually we would meet in the cheapest bar with someone, and so we got there, and then they invited us for dinner and stuff, and we were like, okay. I was still like confused. I wasn't sure if they really mean us, because there was a couple other Kadavar bands around, and I was like, maybe they mean another one. But they signed us, and it was a big step for us. I think our first album came at the right time in 2012, when there was a peak of this music genre with Graveyard Heathing Blues. I think that album really pushed the whole thing to another level. Mm-hmm. And that was amazing. But also we realized that, I mean, you review a lot of music, and that after a couple of years, of course, it all went down and back to normal again. And I think maybe we had the luck that we were one of the first ones with Graveyard that we could keep that level and even get a little bigger, so we could make a living out of it and do what we wanted to do, so that we are now in a position that we can make a living out of it, but also we don't want to share too much of our earned money with other people. That you think about is maybe your own label a way to do it for another 10 years or something, And so the idea was like, maybe we should try that, and not only because of the money, but also of the freedom we have now. We can decide when we want to release something. We can decide if we want to have other artists on our label and build something which we think is worth to work on, and push the scene on that same level again where it was maybe in 2012.
Do you see yourself releasing other bands?
Yes, definitely. We already talked to a couple bands, and we have some cool stuff coming up. I can tell you, well, what is it? What's the date? I'm going to tell you something I haven't told anyone yet, but I can tell you now because we're going to release it soon. We have done a split single, a 7-inch with a Lucifer. This is going to be released in a couple of weeks. So we have a song on one side, they have a song on another side. We both have, like, we did a cover song, and this is something we want to do, like team up with other bands, do some singles, and sign bands as well for albums, of course. But yeah, it's a lot of work. Right now we have the time to do it because there's nothing else to do. So it's the best time to release other bands, and as soon we can go back on tour, we have to see how much time we have left to really, because we don't want to release something and then be like the label guys everyone hates. They're like, hey, yeah, we're gonna make a big star out of you, and then you never hear of them again. So we all been there, and we all witnessed that a lot. so we don't want to be part of that story.
No, of course not. Okay. What's the cover song? Can you tell me what the cover song is?
No, I'm not going to tell you.
Fair.
It's a good one.
Is it? I'll keep an eye out for it. Oh.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about on the isolation tapes, Flat Theory. Now, I had Flat Earth, right? I had no idea that was even a thing that existed.
Oh no.
No, until I saw the Netflix documentary. There was a documentary about Flat Earth and like flat earthers and people trying to prove that the Earth is not in fact round.
Yeah.
How did you come to learn about the Flat Earth theory?
I don't know. It's been in the news in Germany for quite a while. I think also that mostly you see that from people in the States, that they have these meetings in hotels and then they meet each other and then they I don't even know what to say about it because it's so stupid, but
that's a good start. That's a good, yeah.
Since I don't know 800 years we know it better, but yeah, I think it's a community which is like worth having a laugh about because their theories are so funny that as soon the corona thing started, there's all these conspiracy theories coming up about that, and of course flat earth theory is one of their theory some of the people have, and so at one day Tiger came up and said like, hey, we should do a song about the flat earth theory, and then I said like, yeah, it's a good topic, let's do that, and as I said, we had there was complete creative freedom, so we could just pick a topic and then go for it and see if it works. Right. And
next time, please do the lizard people, the secret.
Okay, yeah. that would be even worth a whole album.
There you go. That's my favorite.
Yeah. But there was a guy doing a documentary in Germany about this conspiracy theories, also flat earth theory, and he used that song as in that documentary now. So I was very proud to see that.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Didn't even know. One of us mentioned the festival before, I think I mentioned. Obviously well out of your control that didn't happen. What was behind deciding to do that in the first place, and what do you see as being kind of a possible future for that?
So there's this town in Germany which is called Leipzig, that's about 2 hours from Berlin, and it's in East Germany, and it's a little bit like Berlin 20 years ago. So there's still a lot of space, still a lot of alternative areas, and let's say there's still something possible to do within the city. And a friend of us came up with this idea. There's a park and they have like this stage in the park in the middle of the city, and he asked us if we would like to play there, and we said yeah, of course, an open air there would be nice. And we asked if we should invite some of other bands and friends we have, and he said like, yeah, why don't you just do a one-day festival out of it? And we're like, okay. So we just asked friends and booking agency we know, and start like getting bands together, and thought we could just like try it 1 year, and if it works, we just continue doing it. I would like to, they have a lot of venues there around, so I would like to have also some special shows the day before, the day after, or like acoustic shows in a record shop, and more like, I don't want to say South by Southwest because it's just not what it used to be, but like the Levitation maybe still, even though I prefer the Levitation when it was still Awesome Psychfest at the Ranch. I think that was a beautiful place, but now they do it in the city, have several venues, and you can just jump around, go from one venue to another, and they do it 1 week, I think. And it would be nice to invite more people into that city, because it's a huge scene there, and I think most of the bands nowadays play there anyways. But it's worth to send more bands there and have a festival there, because you can still have illegal parties in backyards, and so it's more like the DIY idea is still there, and that wouldn't be possible in Berlin or anywhere else in Germany, I think. So that was the idea behind. But yeah, we have to see. We almost got all the bands from last year for this year again, and we will announce it soon. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah, exactly.
But then we're just gonna ask them if they're gonna come back in 2022, and then we announce it again. And after we announce it 3 times, then I guess it's gonna happen.
Yes, exactly. And then it will be 2025, and
still the same bands.
Still the same bands, and Humanity will be Road Warrior, Future. And it'll be a good show.
I'm pretty sure, because they had a lot of time to rehearse for that show.
Exactly. When there's no more electricity, and anyway. Have you played? You mentioned South by Southwest. Have you played South by Southwest? I haven't been down there in.
Yeah, I think we played there 3 times.
Did you? Okay.
Like 2012, 13, and 14, I think, something like that.
Okay, I went from I was young and drunk. I went from 2003 to 2007.
It's probably even better than,
Dude, it was pretty incredible. You could just, any hour of the day, just there's High on Fire playing to 5 people, and I'm one of those 5 people. Holy shit, it was nothing. But the last year I went was definitely I never want to do this again. So, and as I understand, it's gotten progressively more like that.
Yeah.
I think I get what you're talking about, kind of building that multi-venue kind of atmosphere. If Leipzig has an area that's like a place across the street from a place, across the street from a place, that's something pretty special to work with.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I've only been to Berlin once, and it was for 2 days. But does Berlin not have that kind of area anymore, or not support that kind of?
No, it changed a lot the last 10, 15 years, I would say. After the war came down, Berlin used to be very a cheap city. Nobody really wanted to live there. Most of the people went to Western cities in Germany, which was Hamburg or Cologne. And we had a huge techno scene in Berlin, which was related to the Detroit techno scene back in the 90s. And I think from when we had the World Cup in 2006, that was the first time the world really got to know Berlin again. And that's when everything changed, and the rent would just go up every year, and most of the venues have to leave the center of the city now. It's really clearing out, and everything is pushed out of the city. And so it used to be like that. You had one street as well where there were 4 or 5 venues and bars and places you could go see live bands or have a good night. And now there's still amazing venues, but they're all not connected anymore. So you have to go through half of the city to go from one place to another. And so that wouldn't make much sense. And also for a festival, we have the Desert Fest here already, and they do a good job. I don't want to do a Desert Fest in Leipzig. I want to be more open and have more different genres over the days. But of course they already have that festival, so I don't want to be in their way. So I thought it would be nice to do it in Leipzig. They don't have a festival yet.
And are you what's going by?
On traffic.
Are you you mentioned writing before. Are you working on new stuff? I guess being sort of free of that schedule and anything else. I don't know what the lockdown situation is now in Berlin.
We have I think we have the worst lockdown right now. We're not allowed to see, we're only allowed to see one other person of another household at the moment. And you don't, yeah, since playing music is our business, I think we're allowed to be in the studio, all three of us. But other from that, you're not allowed to meet, and everything is closed. No restaurants, no shops. Everything is completely locked down since beginning of December, I think. So we're close to 2 months now, and they said last week or this week they're gonna do another month. So it will be until the end of February, I think, that there will be nothing open and nothing to do. And so basically, this is the situation right now. So we have a lot of time to write music.
Yeah, I guess you do.
Yeah, but it's harder in winter than it is in summer. This lockdown, because in summer you could still meet outside or just take your bike and have a ride and go to a lake or whatever.
Yeah.
But right now it's dark and it's cold, and we have a little bit of snow, not too much at the moment. But yeah, it's nothing. You know whether you want to hang out outside meeting your friends, and yeah, it's a weird situation right now. So if I would write a record now, I think it would be a very dark doom metal record. So the songs I write at the moment are very. If I would write a record,
right. I got it.
Yeah, but yeah, we're writing. We have a couple ideas we wrote down, and I have. Over the last couple of months, I set up a little studio here at home, so I don't have to go to the studio all the time. So I can catch all my ideas I have and put them on some tape, and then take it to the studio with me if there's the right moment to show it to the other guys. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, you put out a record called Berlin. You obviously have a pretty deep connection to the city. Even walking to the studio, that 10-minute walk you said before, how has sort of seeing the city with everything closed and this that you've never seen it before, how has that kind of affected how you feel about Berlin?
Yeah, I mean, Berlin is always like it's a very busy city, or became a very busy city over the last couple of years. There's always something going on. 24 hours. We have venues. They're open 3 days non-stop. Usually, we have outside places. There's so much going on usually. Now everything is dead. It's very weird, and in the beginning it was very relaxing because I don't know when I've stayed so long in that city. The last time I stayed so long in that city, because I'm usually traveling all the time. So in the beginning it was when for the first time we met again, me in the city. It was a nice introduction because like it was very quiet. It was easy, but now after a while I'm strong in my mind, but sometimes I'm like, I could just go through the roof and just, I don't know, scream around and like, sometimes I just want it to end very badly.
So I guess that's the record. You're right? Where you jump up and down and scream, and yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to do a rock and roll record, and I really want to do it dirty, and I have a lot of, not anger, but a lot of, a lot of energy. Energy I don't use at the moment. Right. So I should put that in the music, I guess.
That's it. That restlessness.
How is it for you guys over there? I mean, are you locked down, or is anything closed?
We had the States, the U.S. had 4,200 people die yesterday.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, our 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 federal governmental response has been nil. State responses have been mixed, and so we are in the midst of a terrible, terrible outbreak. Where I live in New Jersey, I'm about an hour outside of New York City.
Yeah.
Is semi-lockdown. I personally don't go too many places other than the grocery store at this point, or like the hardware store.
Yeah.
But people do. People go, you know, people go wherever and just hang out with other people, and you see it, and it's disturbing.
Yeah.
So, you know, without that kind of mandate, people saying, you know, everybody wears a mask now, nobody goes out now, like a lockdown until the end of February into March, we don't have that. We should. We should, but we don't. And part of that is the political, well, more than part of that is the political situation here.
Yeah.
Speaking of flat Earth, there are just a ton of people in this country who don't believe in science. There are just so many, and in fact, I could go on, but not believing in science has become a political position in itself.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, the way things are here, we were bound to get it hard, and we have been. You too. So.
Yeah. It's weird. I mean, we see it from here. We read the news, and of course we follow from the outside and see what's going on, and see this craziness over the last couple years, actually. And
yes, and longer than that. I mean, yes.
Yeah. We always thought, like, every time you wake up in the morning, you think like, oh, it should be over by now. I mean, they have a new president elected and everything, but I mean, it's obviously a lot of people anyway, so it's not the president. It's many people in the country. It's I understand, like, for us it's very interesting to see, because we have this people who don't believe in science as well, but they're like a few,
right?
A couple percent of the people here in Germany, but you can see where it can lead to if you give them up in a way, if you don't keep them in dialogue and talk to them and try to get them under your wing and always get them back to on the main road. They kind of get lost.
True. No, you're 100% correct. The trouble we're at now is that the even the act of like talking with someone has become contentious.
Yeah.
Like people, you know, everyone is sort of isolated in their own sort of curated sphere, to where I read fact-based reporting because I believe in facts. Okay, well, someone else who doesn't, and these multiple realities exist at the same time. And then, you know, you have the lizard people who are the overlords, who are overseeing everything and laughing at us all, and that's just how it is on flat Earth.
Yeah, maybe they're right. Who knows?
Maybe. Honestly, if let's, hypothetically speaking, if there were lizard people, okay, would it really be any worse? Would it?
I'm not sure.
Could the lizard people possibly screw it up worse? That's my take.
Yeah.
Lucas, I'm gonna let you go on that note. Is there anything you'd like to add? Anything else you want to say? Anything?
Nah, I'm very bad in having the last word, so I would leave it to you.
Okay. At least I offered the last word.
Thank you very much.
Lupus, thank you for taking the time. I'm going to stop recording, so hang out for just a second.